T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to Trap Talk Reptile Podcast, episode 402. Season 4 has kicked off, and tonight it is just me and my good buddy Dave Levinson, and we're going to get down to some reptile industry talk. But what is good? Everyone out there, I'm your boy MJ. If this is your first time tapping in, what is good? Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast I drop here on this channel. If you listen to me on the audio platforms such as Buzzsprout, Apple, Spotify, all the major audio platforms, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you for all the viewers, anyone who listens and pays attention to this podcast. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Shout out to all the early birds. Get to you guys in a minute. If you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to get more than what you see here out of each episode, go down to the very first link you see in the description below. Click on it and join the Trap Talk Patreon family. As soon as you join the Patreon family, you get a link to the Discord. Taps you in with over 170 trappers, and then also connects you to the Instagram group chat, which is cracking all day, every day. Thank you so much, trappers. You guys are amazing. I love you guys. Serious reptile keepers. Nothing but longevity when it comes to the trap family. And I appreciate you guys, man. All inspiring individuals. Also, want to say tonight's episode is brought to you by Sim Container. If you got eggs, put them inside of a sim box. Less steps, less stress. If it's a sim, it's a win. Thank you, John and Alex over at Sim Container. Always coming through. And lots of reptile species hatched out of sim containers. Documented. Best believe it. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Mark Bailey. Over at Mark Bailey Reptiles, head over to MORPH Market. Follow my man Mark. Go see what he has available. One of the heaviest hitters to ever enter the ball python game, and that's a fact. Appreciate your support, big dog. And then, yes, also brought to you by Rare Genetic Inc. All right, please go subscribe to their YouTube channel. They go live Wednesday evenings. Best way to stay on top of things. And then also best way to stay on top of things is subscribing to this channel, because I'm going to be having at least once a month segments with RGI, okay? So just kind of a good thing to have in the docket for you guys to be ready for when it comes to subscribing to Trap Talk. So thank you to all the sponsors. It means everything to me. Don't forget to support US ARC. US ARC is something that we need to support as a whole, all together now. Fight for your rights. Let's go. Thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you, anyone who is a US ARC member, anyone who even speaks about US ARC. Thank you. All right. All the participants at the US ARC auction, anyone who donates anything, doesn't matter. Thank you so much. But we need more. All right. So please, guys, don't forget to mention US ARC to anyone that you see coming into the game that's new. It's very important. Trap Talk, US ARC Gold member. Let's go. All right. Early birds, who's here, who's ready to rock and roll? If you're in the chats tonight, let's go. I need energy. All right. I had quite the day. I'm not going to get into it because I'm not trying to drag nobody down, but I need energy from the chats tonight. Would really mean a lot. If you think tonight's episode is worth of any kind of super chat, drop that super chat. Do not be shy. If you have a question, if an important topic, anything that you want to get on the screen or just get our attention with, drop a super chat. Priority all day, every day. I want to say hi to some early birds. Who's here? I need some love. There's my boy Adler, Serpent Eclipse Reptiles. Head over to Instagram. Type in Serpent Eclipse Reptiles or A&E Foundry if you're looking to get your logos spiced up to that next level. All right. No offense, but a lot of your guys' logos is fucking Bush League. I'm just saying, holy shit. This guy could help you, all right? And that's fine. I was at a point where I needed help too. He helped me. Hello. So I'm trying to help you guys out. Please, Serpent Eclipse Reptile or A&E Foundry. His name's Adler. Tell him MJ sent you. He'll take care of you. It's my dog. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Big Mike 1776 Exotics, OG Patreon member. It's my homie, one of my day one homies, always here to support. Seriously, you really can't. This guy's support is just second to none. That's all I gotta say. Thank you so much, Big Mike. Miller's Menagerie, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Thank you so much. Justin Campbell, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Brooke Bourne, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Neuro Fee Exotics. Crystal, what's up, girl? Thanks for being here. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Lily, my sister in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Means a lot. Apple Chyan Exotics. I hope I said that right. Goddamn. Bods Exotics Reptiles. Homie Jeremy in the building. What's up, Jeremy? Good to see you, buddy. Celtic Reptiles in the building. What is up? The homie Will in the building. 217 Pythons. What is up? Big Wiz Constrictor Reptiles in the building. My man. Go subscribe, please, to his YouTube channel. It's my dog. The homie JQ Ball Pythons. Don't sleep on this guy. Serious OG. Go follow him on Instagram. It's my dog. Appreciate you, Jay. Morph Valley Reptiles. Trap Talk Patreon member, my homie Ryan Manfredi in the building. Big Emilio Villarino. Yeah, check that out, man. Listen, part of the Patreon perks, you get to join the Trap Talk Patreon and V Unit. See that hat? V Unit Patreon parties that we do Sundays, or I'm sorry, Zoom parties. All right. We have Zoom parties every Sunday. We get together, chop it up, and current events are spoken at every Sunday get together. It's awesome. Face to faces. So I'm telling you, come join the Patreon. Come hang out with me and the V Unit family and Big E, Top G, Emilio. You're my bro. Thank you so much for your support. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Best believe. Ricky Bobby SRT, my boy Shane, day oneer. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Seriously, this fool has quite the package coming to him tomorrow. Be ready. That's going to be super hot and heavy. Go follow him on Instagram. Above all scales. Reptifari in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Row 5.0 in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Morph Kings in the building. What's up, Cody? Thanks for tapping in. Water City Reptiles. Super drippy. What is up? Thanks for tapping in. Adrian Blue Pythons in the building. What is up, player? Thanks for tapping in. Bradley Pruss in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Jaden in the building. Flexing Facebook all day, every day. Victory Lanes in the building. What's up, player? Thanks for tapping in. James in the building. What is up? Brotherhood Exotic Morphs. Mark. What is up, Brotherhood Exotic Morphs? Mark. Thanks for tapping in, player. Big Keys dropping threes all day, every day. My G, Keys Constrictors. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's one not to be slept on. Podcast is amazing. All positivity. Shout out from the homie Keys. JD, my boy, young hitter. Please go follow this guy on Instagram. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Heavy hitter. Up and coming. Deviant Glass. Oh, by the way, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Appreciate it. Deviant Glass in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. All right, we're going to end what? Okay, first and foremost, going to end these with the amazing super chats that are already, and that's energy. That right there was like super chat cocaine. I feel great. YouTube, don't dock me for that. Thank you so much, Shane. Appreciate it. Adrian Blue, appreciate you so much. Let's go. Is podcast 420 going to be extra lit? 100%. I don't know if I'll smoke on the live, but I will be smoking nearby. Appreciate you so much. Charlie in the house as always. Thank you so much, Charlie. Guys, I'm glad everyone's here because you guys need to be here. Heart to heart. My man, Dave Levinson, the guy to have industry talk with, I feel like, because no one's tapped in as much as Dave is, I feel like. And I mean that on all levels. He's for the people. And so tonight we're going to have this one-on-one with Dave. So I hope you guys are ready. Nobody makes my day better than Dave Levinson. My wife, she's obvious. I'm just saying, if it came to like podcast relationships, Dave is my go-to. All right. So he's ready with a box full of shit. He's coming at us right now for episode 402. I bring you my dog, Dave Levinson, Reptile Industry Talk, coming at you right now. Let's go. Good. You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
We're live, episode 402. Dave Levinson. Hey, Dave. You ever feel like you've been kicked in the balls pretty aggressively with somebody who was wearing golf shoes?
Not for about a couple days.
But you've been there.
Oh yeah, man, I'm always there.
Okay, I feel better. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for being here tonight. Could always rely on you on a Thursday to hang out with me and all the trappers. But how's it going for Dave?
Oh, it's good, man. Another short week. About to start. I'm done with shows. Now I got family stuff, weddings and family. So I'm always stressed. I'm tired. Got some good stuff in the incubator hatch, so I'm excited.
That's great. Listen, I got to ask you, man. So this is at the end of the road for the year with all the shows, and man, you hit it pretty hard towards the end of the year, right? That's kind of like where like you're almost you're tapping yourself out, and as far as how many shows you're doing, and like basically almost milking it before the end of the season. Am I right?
Yeah, I kind of always have a game plan every year. Usually the end of summer, come around like Daytona time, I tell you I like to get on the road, start taking chances on shows again. And I'll push that all the way till like mid-October. But, November, maybe I do one show early. I'm not going to do anything too close to the holiday, and the same thing around Christmas. But post-Christmas, I'll start rolling almost every weekend for about a month or two, see what's happening. But no, it's been good, honestly. It was a bit sad early in the season getting out there. A lot of the shows that are pretty dependable seemed a little underwhelming. But the last one I just did in Colorado was great. Place was packed. Great sales. I talked to a couple guys doing the Charlotte show. I heard the same thing. So, yeah, man, feels good. Honestly, a lot of people at the table, a lot of good conversations.
All right. So if I'm not mistaken, this is our first show back together since you've gone to Tinley, right?
Yeah, this is the first one since Tinley.
All right. So how's Tinley?
Tinley was nice, man. Like I said, I took that weekend off. I just kind of wanted to do some deliveries and relax. The crowd looked a little light on Saturday in certain sections of the building, but overall, I heard a lot of good things on a lot of tables. Oddly enough, I was making a couple jokes. Guys that work with different like gecko species and like some of the more rare stuff or odd stuff. Said their weekend was okay, and then the ball python guys all said they had killer weekends. Every time I walked over to Chad's table, he had animals being boxed up and sent out. So, yeah, man. I thought it was going to be a bloodbath for ball python sales at Tinley, but it ended up being a pretty good show from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, okay, so a lot of the people who probably aren't as experienced when it comes to vending and have just started vending in the last couple of years, you feel like maybe some of them are pretty scared if they've had maybe more than one show where they haven't sold anything. You feel like some of them are shaking in their boots or maybe double thinking what they're doing.
Well, here's the thing. You should double think what you're doing if you're not selling anything. Usually there's a reason. A lot of times I even talk about it. The mistake that I make is, when there's market fluctuations, I'm not always paying enough attention. Certain times things are coming down, you don't watch it, you're wondering why people are hitting you up on your ads. Even at the show, if you're a little bit overpriced on other people, and you don't realize the gap, people will buy from other people, maybe they won't even think to ask you to come down on a price. So no, like I said, it's been an interesting year. There was definitely some price adjustments I think needed to happen. But once those adjustments were made, people started buying.
Yeah, it's really people need to really look at what department they are in when it comes to breeding reptiles, right? And a lot of people who are in the ball python game are up against a shit ton of other people who are breeding almost identical stuff to what they're already doing. And when it comes down to are the ones who are more reputable and the ones who have like, I guess like not groupies, but people who are just there to support them and rather spend money with them versus whoever's slashing their prices ridiculously low. And that's why I'm like, man, you know, I get that there's tools out there on Morph Market and other things where you could go ahead and show that you're having sales. But I'm like, I mean, it just, when you go on Morph Market, you see all this red. I just don't know like how that's still separating you from anything else. Like I just don't think slashing prices is going to guarantee, like that's not what's going to help you sell snake. I think you just gotta think smarter, not harder, or, you know, that type of thing. I don't know. Unless it's wrong, I don't know.
Well, no, I agree, but you know, we've been kind of talking about the last few weeks, and this is again just my opinion. Is you know, the pet market needs its animals, and not all these animals can be high end that we're producing right now. And again, I'm a broken record with that, but you know, there's certain things that are just going to come down in price, and we need that part of the market. You know, there's no spinner calicos at the shows anymore. There's none of that like general stuff that you saw going into the pet markets. If certain pied combos need to come down, they got to come down. We got to just accept it. You know, like I said, we need that part of the community buying because that money works its way through the whole community. So slashing prices down here, yeah. I mean, if everybody's selling sunset females for, let's say, $2,500 and somebody comes in at $2,000, that's kind of unnecessary because they're still selling very well. So that kind of stuff, I don't like to mess with that too much, but there's other animals I think we just got to accept that the price might change.
Does this sound kind of familiar or like sound realistic to you where, okay, things are what they're at right now, right? People are slashing their prices and it is what it is. But let's just say economy turns around better than what it is now. It gets better. And then sooner or later, somebody hits something that is just out of this world, right? And it's dropping jaws. And next you know, pied's involved. Now, next you know, pied is one of the most sought after recessives that people want again because of this one project that happened to hit during a time where people got money to drop again. And then now we're back to almost where we were 3 years ago. Like a lot of this, like, I mean, I'm just using pied as an example, right? But like, think of the codoms that were just dirt and then now they came back to gold. You know what I mean? That type of shit.
Well, you know, again, you can't always predict the market unless you know somebody doing something secretly that you know is going to be a wow. You know, like I said, a lot of times in the community, there's so many genes that we could play with. Sometimes we need other people to give us direction. So, you know, more people in the community, the better. More people doing random things that other people aren't thinking about, the better. Because, you know, I always make the joke, you know, you never know when you're going to hit on your Pompeii. Like, you know, again, that's an animal that was extremely recognizable. It made people go a lot of different directions with their clown stuff. And it still has changed the way people have been treating their clowns. You know, there's been a lot of other things we've done. But, you know, there's a lot of ingredients that can be mixed up out there that we don't even know. And once we get there, it's going to create a new direction. So I don't know, man. You know, I will say that, you know, producing more right now is not always the best thing. Producing things that you want to hold back is the best thing. Not just because you need to hold it all back, but because anything that you'd want to hold back, I'd like to believe somebody else would see that direction and want to buy that animal from you.
Anyone right now who's not hurting for money or isn't breeding specifically to gain money isn't worried about selling anything right now. They're not even partaking in sales, like meaning like they rather not even post something, or they just post it, just leave it what it is, and they don't care. You know what I mean? But it's the people who put themselves in a position where they expected to get whatever money they would think it is worth once they hit that snake. And it's just like that. And the thing is, well, yeah, cool. If you were the only one making that snake, I could understand that. But guess what? A lot of other people were up on the same shit that you are. And not only that, like what makes you the person that someone wants to drop, you know, I guess 7 Gs or 5. What are DG clowns are going for now? What are they? 5 Gs now? 4
I think it's called 5G. Yeah.
2,300. I don't fucking know. Who knows?
Well, I don't think that low.
Well, it depends. If you get it from Mike Wilbanks and you buy 3 of them, it comes out to like 2,300 each.
Well, I have to do the math. I don't know if he produced 3. Yeah, kidding, man. I won't disagree. But you know, I don't know, man. The acceptance that you have no control over the market is also a big thing. You know, you can't control the breeders. You can only control your business. And you know, when you come out with a price in mind for a project, it's usually, like Justin said, what you would consider buying it yourself at. If nobody else sees it at your value, then you're on the table. Then it's what? Hold it back or sell it for less. I don't know, man. I will say this. One thing that I harp on is if you produce something and nobody wants it and you can't get your price point and you say, I'm just going to hold it back, sometimes you got to ask yourself, maybe nobody wanted it for a reason. Holding things back just because you didn't get your price point, making more something that nobody wanted to sell at a fraction of the price doesn't really make sense. That's just, again, refining what you're doing. I accept there's a few projects that I like that people aren't in love with. A lot of them I'm not hitting as heavy as I used to, but I keep them on the back burners. I just don't make them my everything.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's regardless what is hot or what's popular, it's what you really love and want to stick to, And listen, I'm standing high on Hypo just making this epic comeback. And I remember Hypo was like that fucking, that cousin, that dirty cousin that nobody wanted to play with. And it was like, you know what I mean? And everyone was all giving DG all this props, but then now Hypo's reigning supreme in certain combos. And it's like, it's cool to see, but also you just really can't predict what the future is going to hold, because all it takes is that one fucking glorious goddamn combo that has something in it that is going to make everyone go ape shit for it, and the ones who sat on that and the ones who have it and the ones that didn't panic will flourish, and they'll like the Red Stripe, and Red Stripe's the one that stand out the most to me, because I'll never forget like certain individuals who were in the game around the same time as I was. So like 2 years in, and they invested hard on Red Stripe. And as soon as people wanted it, they sold it all. And I'm like, why would you sell it all? Like, I understand maybe getting rid of some, making some coin, but like that right there should make you want to put that in a project right now, like immediately, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
Well, it depends on how people look at their market. Some people have realized that the market has been all over the place for the last 20, 30 years, and they think take the money when you can get it. I sold a lot of Red Stripes when Red Stripe became popular again, and I know a lot of people that gave the Red Stripes away months or years beforehand. Those guys are kicking themselves because they're out buying it again. But I don't know, man. Like I said, you really only have control over you. It's good to produce some good stuff. It's good to keep people's eyes on your business. And, you also got to pay attention to the trends. Like you said, Hypo, I don't think I would have predicted Hypo except for DG Hypo. I've always loved DG Hypos.
That's another beauty about, like, we're talking about something that only makes DG better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Too, like, the neglect of DG in the hobby for over 20 years. It was a recessive among other recessives that was one of the least appealing because it was tweaking it ever so slightly in a lot of people's eyes. Yeah. There was certain things that they thought they could do faster that was more worth their time. And now it's everything that you're doing is refined by putting DG in it. There wasn't a mystery. We've seen big adults at the shows. Kevin McCurley used to bring a bunch to the shows. They've always been beautiful animals, but it just took a whole generation or two to figure out that we really wanted them. And now, again, it's what everyone's going to do, and you have no choice. DG is the future right now. DG Hypo is going to be the future, and then we'll see what we decide to do next. But, I wouldn't sleep on it just because it took forever to become popular.
Yeah. And then, man, what's crazy is like we have what's popping now, but in the back burner, which is slowly creeping up. By the way, shout out to 90 people tapped in. Get the likes up if you don't mind. It's getting hot. It's getting heavy. It's Dave Levinson. Let's go. But what's creeping behind this recessive boom is something like white lace. You know what I mean? So now we add something like white lace to the mix, which is going to it's like, I don't know what I'm just pretty excited to see what's going to happen once that catches up to this shit,
I love the white lace. I did a lot more with white lace this past year than I did with preparing for the future on DG. Now I'll swap it this year and probably go a little harder with DG, but, no, I really like the white lace. I made the joke around the time that the test came out that I'd probably rather go white lace than this confusing DG stuff. But, you can't turn away from the fact that that is the direction we're going in. There's plenty of room for the white lace, and I think there's going to be a lot of great stuff we're going to see. I saw some Xanthic white lace I really liked. I sent a few suggestions to a few people in white lace, what I thought they should do that I couldn't do myself. I know William up in Canada really loves white lace, and I'm sure he's going to be showing us some bangers over the next couple of years. I wouldn't think that white lace would take over DG anytime soon, because, again, for the last decade, I've been saying something else is going to take over clown. We're going to get bored of it, and that was never the case. We kept on finding something new to do with it. So, I wouldn't give up my DG stuff to go white lace because it looks the same, but I also wouldn't sleep on white lace because there's certain things that does to the pattern that a DG won't do by itself. You know, those pastel yellow belly white laces with all that pixelation on the side, always going to be a standout animal to me. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Again, we talked the Xanthicus are done for that. I don't know, man. But I wouldn't sleep on DG. I'm going to really harp on that. I'm a guy who slept on a lot of stuff over the years. I got to play catch up. You know, don't put yourself where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think a lot of people have slept on DG. I think kind of people maybe lost a little bit of excitement because of the levels of DG that could be. But I feel like no, DG is obviously like just as important as hypo, obviously, you know, from what I'm talking about here. You know, we're just talking like another piece of the pie that adds more flavor. But either way, it's just hunker down. I feel like I think we're in a time where we just need to hunker down and just stand tall and just keep breeding for the future. You know, because you got people that are doing last minute shit or not even really having a plan, but just breeding for the current year. And I don't understand why anyone breeds for the year that they're in. I feel like that should have been decided a long time ago or well before the year of. Because now you're just kind of breeding for what's liked or what's going to be. I don't know. I just feel like there has to be something strategic every year. You should look at your projects that make you excited for the future and why you just want to just keep pushing forward. It's really about that year, but it's not about that year. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. Again, you know, every parent should be for a holdback. You know, no reason not to run your business that way. You know, it's still cool to make leucistics and pides and things like that, and sometimes that'll be byproduct from other stuff. But you know, every parent should be, what am I going to do in 5 years? What am I going to do in 3 years? So yeah, I mean, like I said, you got to hunker down. And you know, here's another reality, bud. Like, out of the 90 people listening, how many think this is their full-time job? You know, you think a lot of us are doing this full time?
No, I said not a lot. I said
okay. I'm sorry.
yeah, but I'll tell you though, there's many out there who are dying to do this full time. Like meaning like shit. They're even with their job, they're just getting by. Like a lot of people are hurting with their day jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Too. Like they come home and they look forward to work with their animals because how much their day's miserable.
No, for sure. Now here's the thing too, like, you know, we talked about it. This is like the 5th or 6th time in the industry where we've had this high and the slow, this high and the slow. You know, if you're coming in the industry now in this, what we'll call a little bit of a low, you know, the economy's hurting a little bit. If you get through this, the 5 or 7 years after that are going to be a lot easier for you. Because that's usually what it is. It's like 3 hard years, and then we usually get about 5 to 7 really good positive years. You know, and we'll see how long.
But you have to earn those years, right, Dave?
Yeah.
You have to go through a little bit of fucking like rugged rock bottom. Not that this is rock bottom, but I'm just saying like a little bit of worry. Like this whole like scary thing in your gut it's normal and it's I kind of say it's healthy. You got to go with it and believe in it. I feel like and just write it out.
Well, how about this? I think we need to stop living in 2020 and 2021. That was kind of crazy what sales did. Go back to 18 and 19. I don't think we're far off from where we were in 18 or 19. I think everything was just popping so much during COVID. It almost felt like, you know, it was never ending, and then it abruptly ended. So yeah. I don't know, man. Like I said, these highs and lows are going to come, but you know, the reality is in this market, there's still a high-end ball python. There's still a $15,000 animal. There's still a $25,000 animal and up. You know, there's always going to be buyers within the industry or outside the industry buying in. They're always going to invest in something big. And, you know, with all these projects, you know, it is long-term. You know, co-dominant was arguably a short-term investment. Recessives have been a long-term investment. Yeah. So, you know, stick it out for what you're doing. Try to be smart about it. But I don't know, like I said, you know, stoking fear in people that things are bad, you know, I find that it reflects on your business. Right. You know, I believe in being honest with your customers. You know, there's no reason to pretend like things aren't going wrong, but, you know, you can't act like the business is burning down every time you're talking about a project that they should or shouldn't be investing in. And, you know, be honest, talk to them, let them know what the fluctuations have been, but fuck, man, bananas went from what, $15,000 down to $2,000. Like bamboos went from 18 to 2,000. I think candies went down like 10,000 plus like overnight when they became allelic with albino. You know, what's happening in the market right now is nothing. You know, there hasn't been any like $10,000 drop offs on a project. So, you know, to be so afraid of this market right now, it's just to an extent, but we've had it way worse before on drop-offs. All we're talking about right now, it's a couple $1,000s off of things that maybe are coming down, and maybe $100 or $200 off of stuff that's in the $500 range.
Don't you think we could use more rodent companies out there? Like I'm talking more like homegrown rodent companies like out there to provide to, shipping's one thing, I get it, but I'm talking like more provided to people locally for where they're at.
Okay. Well, yeah, of course. And if somebody wants to open up MORPH Market and click on the map to see where the most breeders are located near them, and maybe I'm not sure if they have a feature you can look up rodent breeders, but I'd look at a map, find a bunch of dots on it for people who need your assistance, because yeah, people do hurt for rodents, and I'd pop up a business in those areas. But there. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh no, I was just gonna say rodents. Rodents come in waves too in the hobby, because we get a lot of small time guys that bow out. I unfortunately am on my 5th or 6th rodent breeder now in the last 5 or 6 years, and it just happens. It was good quantity, everything was going well. Sometimes it's my fault, sometimes it's their fault, but we're always going to need those rodents coming in. We got to keep feeding the stuff.
So the reason why I was like encouraging more like people who are willing to provide rodents that they grow themselves is because the biggest scary thing happening when it comes to going through a rodent company, and I can't even specify one because it's more than one for sure. But like, companies going through a third party to provide like rodents. And from what I've heard, a lot of it's mice, right? So mice coming from like even places like China or labs or something like that. And then people obviously having terrible experiences feeding those mice to their snakes, and then really people's hands in the air is like not much I could do about that. And so, I mean, I could tell you right now, like I've had close people like that, or excuse me, I've had close people in my life that happened to them. And I know if it's happened to me, I'd take it pretty fucking hard. And I just wouldn't want that to happen to anyone else. And I've had people come to me telling me stories, you know what I mean? So I that's a scary thing for anyone out there, I feel like. And I just don't want that to happen to anyone else. You know what I mean?
That's been what the industry is for years. Your comments about China is not wrong. They come in by the hundreds of thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the labs. Now, I will say my lab fear is not like crazy. From what I've heard over the years is, first off, labs are way more clean than any other breeder in the industry right now. There's a set of standards. Even the food that goes in, they're running tests on these animals. But the whole thing is that there's the spillage, not the spillage, that's the wrong word for it. The extra. They're going to breed double, triple what they're going to need to have enough for every experiment. So those animals that were essentially raised up in perfect conditions are the ones that should be coming to the industry. Now, the other stuff, as far as I'm aware, they incinerate all that stuff because God forbid something they put in that mouse, transfers onto us or an animal. That's a lawsuit, even if their hands are clean of it. So, I do trust that aspect. Maybe the freezing of the rodents when you're receiving them in is the issue. Not all companies know how to flash freeze properly, but I'd have faith in those. As for the China stuff, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know what the regulations would be over there. I don't know about what's going into them. I also can't tell you who's selling those animals. But they do exist. They've always been part of the hobby.
And for you, I can't remember. You breed your own rodents for the collection you look after? I can't remember.
Percentage. We do as much as we can with the space that we have. We could use an expansion on our rodent colony. But anything like that is going to be a project. So we just haven't committed yet. That might be something I look into in the spring, maybe try to double down. But, between what we feed in frozen thawed, and, I get that from one source, and what we produce in house, it's usually enough to get us by. But, we could always use more. I mean, everybody in the industry can always use more rodents.
A common question I get, Dave, is like, how does someone, and I know it really matters on the collection, right? But let's just say 100, let's just say someone gets to 100 snakes and they're now ready to produce their own rodents because they're tired of their rodent bill, right? And they're like, I just want to do this myself. What's the best way to get to a point where you're breeding just enough to obviously provide meals for your snakes, but then obviously not overproduce or underproduce? Like, is there a system of breeding rodents to find a happy medium to whatever it is that you want to be, and I'm only asking because I don't have that much experience breeding rodents. I only did it for a couple years, and I did it the way I did it. But I'm just curious how you would approach it or how you would do it.
Well, overproducing always. Once you figure out what that number is. Now, the whole thing is, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some expert when it comes to breeding rats in any way. I know I can breed rats. I know there's always babies in there. But you got to look at a female's probably going to average 10 babies. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, well, how long is she going to nurse them for? How long until she's gravid again? If you're not keeping males in when they're nursing, they're not getting pregnant right away. You got to do the timeline on that. You're going to have to do the math equation, every one of your tubs, how often they're going to produce, how many is going to come out of it versus what your collection is. If you have a tub set up with 3 females and 1 male, which is common in the industry, you should assume that you should have 30 babies in that tub once every 60 days or so. So if you do it that way, plan your collection around that, you'll do okay. And that 60-day mark, I might be a little off on. I know that once we put females back in with males, usually around day 25, I want to say, they're gravid.
Right.
But like I said, you kind of just have to do the math on it. But producing your own rodents in house is good. It's going to save you money. You're going to save a lot of money. Plus, you're dependent on yourself. Justin built on it his new building. Nobody wants to do rodents.
Yeah,
he's doing rodents in there for a good reason. He depends on nobody but himself.
Yeah, that's quite an impressive facility. Like I loved going to Justin's place. I feel like I haven't been there forever, but it's quite an impressive place. You went there not too long ago, about a year ago, I would say, right?
I think it was about a year ago. I think it was Atlanta show. Now I'll be honest, I spent most of my time just talking to Justin while my friend Ryan and Chad ran around opening up drawers and loving everything. To be honest with you, I would have loved to have seen a little more behind the scenes. I would have loved to have seen the rat area. I would have loved to have seen his bay area where they're bringing in product. I like the way that he built it up. He built it, not to call it a factory, but I worked in factories and there's a lot of things in there that have factory elements. His big ass fans that he used, so on and so forth. I like the functionality of companies and see how it all works. And, he put a lot of time into that building, and it's one of the more impressive buildings we have in the industry. I put it up there with when we saw Nerd build his mansion, and I don't know how much that cost, but that was his, I think, 2-floor building he has his pet store at and his collection upstairs.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that, and I was like, holy fuck, man, like, that's a nice building. But no, man, you got to produce your own stuff if you can, but I will say not a lot of people like doing rodents. It sucks. It's dirty.
Oh my God, that's work. Like it's real work, and it's tough, and it's frustrating. Oh my God, it's frustrating. Like and what the reason why I remember it being so frustrating is because I had a 9-to-5 that I really hated then. Like I was very miserable, and my one day off of the week was dedicated to doing about 4 hours of rodent work. And there was times where I realized there was a chew out or something, and it was just fucking crazy. Like, you learn a lot as you go, right? Just like anything else. But the mistakes could be really fucking nightmarish with rodents if you make like the most smallest mistake. And then mind you too, bro, like I preach to anyone out there. People get away with it, but mind you, this is probably stupid. Don't do this. Don't breed rodents in the same room as your snakes. If you could separate that would be great. I'm just telling you, a lot of nightmares happen because of what I did. And mind you, when I got rid of the rodents, my life got a lot easier because I just simply had no place to breed rodents other than where I had them at the time. But dude, real work, real backbreaking work, the rodents. I'm not gonna lie.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
So you want to talk about any of those nightmares just so you're helping people out, or would you rather not?
Yeah, I got one. Oh my God, it's Halloween-ish kind of right now. Oh man. Here we go. MJ trap horse stories. And I think I might have told you this really fucked up one night at a show. I think hanging out in the, like we normally do when we hang out. But all right, here we go. So one time I got an amazing gift in the mail from Miguel for my birthday. He didn't tell me what it was going to be, but he knew my interests were becoming a lot more than just ball pythons. Like, yeah, he knew I was getting into boegas and he was like, MJ, I got you something. Long story short, he won something at an auction, and he had no idea what he wanted to do with it. So he sent it to me for my birthday, and it was a pair of Solomon Island tree boas. And they're fucking neat. They're a treat. They're arboreals, and so he sent me a pair of them, and I put them together, and I heard I could house them together and all sorts of stuff. So I got a big Target tub, I decked it out. And I remember, everything was ambient in my room for the most part. So the room stayed pretty warm. So the caging that I had, the tub that I originally had this tub set up for was for rodents, right? But I never used it for rodents. So the top was a mesh top, all right? And it was about 1 inch, but from what I could measure, they couldn't get out of it. It was small enough, right? So I used this mesh top. And this was during the day where I had rodents being produced in the same building. And of course, there was one rat that escaped. He was like a rat that was in my room for a while, but I thought he was gone. Like I thought this guy was no longer. I thought I did everything that I did. Maybe he died in the walls or something, but never could have sworn I never saw this guy again. No. So check this out. One night I'm closing up the trap, had a hell of a fucking day. As I'm leaving, right before I hit the lights, I look and I see a head poking out of that meshing. Like I see like the male's head, literally like the tip of the nose. And I was like, oh shit. So I go and I'm like, because Solomon Island tree boas, their heads are real skinny. Like they're skinny, but then their bodies are, they're pretty, girthy, also. And mind you, these were adults at the time too. They're full grown. So I noticed that he can't get out. And I was beat fucking tired. I knew in my head right there, I was like, I should probably switch out the fucking lid or something, because either way, you don't want this head poking out. You don't want that. So I'm like, I was like, I'm just gonna worry about it tomorrow. And so I go to bed, slept really good. I'm not gonna lie. I remember that night, slept really well. Wake up super early. I walk into the trap, turn the lights on, and something tells me, look at the lid. Like, go look at the, remember that snake that had his head out? Just go look, make sure he's good. And as I look, I just see something white. Okay. I remember seeing this like from across the room. It's white and it looks like a hook. And I'm like, the fuck is that? So I go, and then I see like a spine. And I'm like, it's a bone. And so I open the lid, and what I see is the snake that's half its body's coiled on the ground, and the other half of it is pulled through the mesh. So what happened was this fucking rat was still around. Okay. That night, he caught that fucking snake's head and tried to like yank it out. So basically started eating the snake to the point where the snake couldn't get through the mesh. All right. And I lost my shit. Oh my God. I didn't go to work that day. I called my dad. I said, Dad, we need to find this fucking rat. Okay. And if there's any rat lovers out there, or pet, you're going to want to leave right now, because what I'm about to say is not good. But holy shit, bro, I lost my mind. I was emotionally a wreck after seeing that. Okay. I was scarred for one thing, mentally fucked for a long time. All I wanted was that rat. We found the rat. We found the rat. And it wasn't that long until the whole breeding rats left. And I couldn't be happier. Okay. Probably the worst story out of all the horror stories that I had with rats, because that right there was so fucked up. I truly loved those snakes. Like I had like a connection with these snakes. Like I liked them. Those were the wrong snakes to kill, or the male was the only one that got it. But horror story.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. I'm sorry, but that's fucked.
And mind you, because I remember that night I was like, just replace the lid. I had so many different, like I had a bunch of these different style of tubs. So all I had to do was just go grab another lid that wasn't mesh. Maybe just drill a couple holes and that's it. It would have been great. But something in me was like, fuck it. You've had a long day, MJ. Go to bed. No, that's why you follow your gut instinct. And if it's something you fix it right then and there. Don't go to sleep. I don't care how tired you are. There could be a rat loose.
Yeah. I do agree with that last statement, man. When you're exhausted, that one last thing's not a bad thing. Because that thing will burn you in the morning sometimes like that, and that sucks. I got a quick question. You want to bring Junior in?
Is he here?
I think he might be. Send him a message. He sent me a text asking about a link. You sent him a link?
Tell him to check Instagram. It's already sent.
Can't do that. Oh, it's on Instagram. Shit. I don't think he's listening. You want to?
This podcast is going great right now. Just so I love you, Junior, but let's. I got some stuff I want to talk about right now.
Yeah, we keep on riffing, man.
Okay.
You want to message him on Facebook and tell him we'll go in like 15 minutes? Maybe bring him in.
What? Okay, he's right, dude. Like, look, he already hit me up. He said, I'll try in a bit. That was 1 minute ago.
Okay.
He's good. He's good. We'll tap in.
We'll come back in a bit.
Hold on.
Oh,
I got
how about this?
I got something I want to talk about. Damn it, Dave.
Okay, go.
Going back to people being miserable.
Sorry, wrong vibe.
No, listen. I'm just saying there are outlets out there from within this industry, right? There's ways that you could provide something in this industry that could maybe get you to not have to focus so much on a 9-to-5 that you really hate. And what I'm saying is like, and what's crazy, this individual has a 9-to-5 and still is providing what we're about to talk about, because one of the biggest things that we talked about earlier this year, Dave, was neglect on retics and all that stuff, right? Remember that huge Samson movement and all that? Of course you do, right? So this guy has been thinking outside the box, and I want your opinion. I want your real, like, don't, just lay it on us. Okay, Dave, what something like this could possibly do to the reptile industry if it picks up steam? Like if it's maybe something that, where the fuck did it go? I'm so sorry. Hold on. Maybe it's something that people can maybe catch up on, but let me just show you this. Okay. So I had this gentleman on the show Tuesday, so that's why it's standing out to me, why I want to talk about this. All right. But these are aluminum metal cages.
Okay. Oh yeah, I spoke with that gentleman I spoke with him at the Arlington show.
Didn't you talk to him at Bill Stiegel's house too? I could have sworn you did.
Oh, maybe at Bill's for a little bit. Honestly, mainly at the show. We discussed his cages on Sunday. He gave me a breakdown. He gave me a little background on the company he works for, what they do, how they use that for this, and so on and so forth. Was that the stimulation things on the side to kind of give him a little more travel space?
He calls it the playground.
That's at the playground. I was trying to think of a different word. But what are your thoughts, man? What do you think about those things?
I mean, I think the beauty about something like this, it has longevity, meaning it's not going to warp. It's going to actually last for you.
Yep. And
that's the biggest thing is like, this is for somebody who has more longevity in their future when it comes to keeping reptiles, because it's not cheap either. That's the thing. I love all this. I love the, I want a bunch of them, but also it's not cheap either. It's like, it's over 5 RHACS, but it also provides something where, depending on the species, and mind you, okay, see how there's levels, see how there's like you could actually put, I think 5 in there, right?
Yep.
But right above the first level, you could actually take that floor out and it could just be a whole, like, instead of it being 2, it'll just be 1, but bigger. Like if you want more space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and on the wall there's a feature that you can take the wall off, and that up and down cage locked on the side there's like a little bit of a area that can go in, like you said, the playground area. And the company he works for, I believe they do the when you go to a railroad stop and that little thing comes down, there's usually a little hut there with all the equipment in it. That's the materials and everything they use to build those. And I want to say those have like a 20 or 40-year warranty outside. So those things are going to last you forever. Like nothing will ever go wrong. There's a good powder coat on them. Honestly, probably going to be worth the price considering they're never going to go away. They are heavy. That is metal. But again, it's built to last.
I'm thinking it's a great idea, right? Like that's a good idea. But when you have a good idea like this, what's the best way to approach it to the reptile industry? Like, is it just blasting every show that you can go to? Is it trying to get it in the hands of like the biggest guy doing it? Like this kind of like maybe help. And this is just one of many examples. There's other people out there who are coming with cool ideas to provide, but maybe some people don't know how to introduce it or bring it, and maybe some are shy, you never know. But I'm asking you because you have the experience in the industry as far as talking to people and knowing people and building relationships. So I'm just curious what your advice would be for anyone out there who has an idea that they think could be really beneficial to us keepers.
Talk to a lot of keepers. Get some critiques on what you're doing. Don't always get your back pat. I want to hear about what's not working so I can fix it. These models he's working right now are some of his early models. I'm sure some vendors might go by and take a look at them and see something maybe they want different. Don't be afraid to have that conversation. I find that brutal honesty is great in every part of life. No reason to give someone false hope on something that you think is going to fail. But yeah, no, I thought they're built strong. Like I said, his company background, what they're already building, they're going to last forever. Cons, again, is going to be the weight for me, only because I find I move around every few years and they might be a little bit tough to move. but they are on casters. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough one. I even actually talked to him about pricing. That's one thing we left off is we didn't get into pricing at all. But you know, again, good critiques. You know, have people talk to you about what you're coming out with, so when you find out what's going wrong, you can fix it.
I'm just saying, the reptile industry is a beautiful place. There are things for a lot of people if you just put your mind to it. And then yeah.
Well, I mean, hell, man, look at what you're doing in your day to day. If something's not working or you think there's something better, invent something. You know, there's always ways to improve in this industry. I keep on saying, man, it's a young industry. And you know, I like to talk about Focus Cube a lot. I mean, that's a beautiful cage. It's a little different. It's a little more of an art piece. It's something you can display. You know, I like that.
Did you see their Heretic enclosure? Did you
remember that got dropped off when we were at Bill's house.
Yes,
and then I saw it set up about a week later.
That thing was fucking sick, man. God. Yeah. And, you know, because like I'm like, not that I think like, oh, what I have behind me is the best, but pretty happy with it. And then I saw that and I'm like, fuck. But mind you, like it just I mean, I could fit 20 on this wall. That I could fit like not even half of that, you know, but look what you're putting them in. And that's the thing. It's and mind you, as I get older, as I probably calm my tits on some of this shit, I would more lean to putting in things more in something like that and enjoying less is more. I feel like Junior, you're trying to come in. You have to enable your camera and you have to enable your audio, buddy. Junior's coming in and then coming out. And now we lost Dave.
I'm already going to put the camera side.
What color would you guys say Dave's couch is? Is that like a olive? What color was it?
I think it's a pewter. It's like a dank pewter.
All right. Okay. While we're waiting for Junior to come in, what are some things you'd like to talk to Junior about when we have him in? Because you guys could talk about a lot, and I love that. But what are anything stand out to you that could really kind of relate to reptile industry talk that you want to talk about Junior?
Well, how about this? First off, I always make a lot of stock market comparison talk with the industry. I'm pretty sure Junior's been trading in stocks as long as he's been breeding snakes.
Whoa.
So he's really good at reading markets, having an understanding of what's going on. One thing I love about Junior that's going to help with the conversation is the world market. He exports around the world and has been doing that his whole life. So, you know, he could tell us about certain markets overseas that are thriving right now, certain ones that are down, why they're down. So again, if you want to get into the details about what's working or not working right now, it's always good to know what's going on overseas.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy is I'm seeing more, not a lot, but like I'm seeing more breeders have connections and selling animals overseas that I didn't know that was happening. I mean, a lot of them probably keep it under wraps, but there's a lot of connections, overseas connections that people have here in the States that, I mean, is there a reason why maybe a lot of people don't like to talk about it? I don't know. Maybe they like.
Oh man, because when you got a good thing, why give it up? You know, it's and that's the reality. To get these customers, create a relationship, it doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of people keep that close to the vest. You know, if you're helping somebody out overseas and they're happy, you know, why send them somewhere else? So, you know, people keep it tight.
Keep it tight. I like that. Now, what's one thing you're preparing for when it comes to the 2024 show season? Like anything you maybe want to do different next year that you didn't do this year, or I mean, you game plan like that at all? I'm just curious. What? That's typical fashion. But anyways, yeah. What would be something you'd like to game plan for next year when it comes to shows?
You know, I would like to create more interactive stuff with my booth. You know, I've always told you I've slept on my booth because I find it comical that I put minimal effort in. But, you know, I'd like to spruce things up a little bit this upcoming season. You know, I don't know if I have time, but I might have to build myself more display cases. Mine are a little beat to shit. But when it comes to like sales pitches, everything else, you know, I'm always looking for new ways to display the animals. You know, new cleaner ways. You know, switching to white a few years ago was awesome. You got to stay on your toes when you got everything on white. I don't know if there's gonna be a big change, man. I like little changes, teeny weeny little changes. See if anything changes with it.
Did you see the display cases Garrett Hartle had?
You know what? I didn't. Were they spiffy?
The spin. He had a spinning, like it was like a tall tower. And Yes, and
Yeah,
you spin it. It was like you just spun it, and it was like it all had snakes. I couldn't believe it.
it created like an image.
Yeah, but there was a real snake in each container.
Okay, now I don't know what we're talking about.
Oh,
That's what I did. Are you talking about that screen that's like a spinny thing?
No, okay. So he had these things in front of it. Okay, you know how he has his like coffee style booth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in front of his booth, or right there in front of his displays, were these tower things with like three-sided, all the way up and down little containers full of super dwarfs, and you spun the whole tower and looked at all snakes. It was fucking cool.
Okay, that's tight. You know, I walked by and I saw that, but I knew that was different. I didn't know the functionality. I don't think it was spinning when I walked by.
Yeah, I need to find that. Just because I thought, because it's one thing with Garrett and his booth. I always like his booth is always my favorite, just because it's like different, and it's very like I just want to hang out there. But when I saw that, I was like, holy shit! This is a way of looking at snakes. You know what I mean? Where it's up close, personal. You can kind of like actually rotate it, and I was just like, wow. Do
you remember? And man, I just talked about this company recently. I think I brought them up at Tinley. They always set up at Tinley, and they essentially almost created like a reptarium type setup. They were retics and monitors.
Ooh, I don't know.
They had the models always standing by their booth.
Oh yes, and they have like music playing.
Yeah, who was that?
I forget. They're like Highland chameleons or something like that, or it's like
no, we're talking monitors and retics.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't know.
Might have started with a V. I don't know.
Okay,
somebody knows.
I got something that starts with a JMG.
Ooh, hey buddy,
how you guys doing?
Not bad. We thought we needed you. It's been going pretty good, but we're happy you're here.
I'm happy. Right. I'm happy you're still here for the assist. Thanks for coming. Super short notice, Junior. How you living, buddy?
Doing good. Actually, yeah, because Dave called me, and I thought he was just probably calling to, like, shoot the shit or something. And so I was on the middle of a phone call, and then I was like, I'll call you back. And then when, like, afterwards, I looked at the phone, and I tried calling him, and I looked at my text messages afterwards, and I was like, oh, he's doing a podcast right now with MJ. So what has been the topics of discussion tonight?
The biggest thing I think we wanted you to kind of, like, tap in with is, more of, like, the current situation with vendors, especially newer vendors who aren't selling, that are kind of down and out right now. Ones that are hitting the projects they are finally looking to hit, but they can't sell anything. It just kind of maybe brighten people's mood going into 2024 here, because like I said, it's a lot of ups and downs, but some people came into this with high expectations, did good on the breeding side, but then now they put themselves in a position where they need to sell. And now, because of the selling part, desperateness is kind of kicking in, from what I've seen, and I know other people are seeing it too. So, just want to know what you could relate to that,
That's a tough, because the climate's always changing in the reptile hobby. Like every 5 years, there's like a big different like shift in the just in how we do things. I mean, look at how much things changed the last few years, and like how big of a driver of sales one platform is MORPH market. And, the one thing is, it's like, some of these people are struggling. I'm wondering, like, are they doing reptile shows? The thing is, not everybody has the luxury, though, to go out and do multiple shows or explore and do other shows. And some people that are newer might not, like, be privy to this. But, Dave knows. Dave does a lot of shows. So you got to kind of experiment. There's, like, shows that, aren't that great, could be location. You don't want to say nobody's not putting on a good show, but certain locations are obviously better than others. How many shows are in the area? If there's too many shows, you're distributing the amount of shows. Probably a lot of it boils down to just like marketing, being active, not to sound cliche or whatever thing, but like, just loving what you really do and focus on just enjoying the animals and enjoying the social aspect of it, meaning sharing your stuff, like fall in love with just like, sharing your stuff on social media, whether it's making memes or just interacting with people. And then, sales will follow because, people want to buy from somebody that they know is going to be there for them if they have questions or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this is, probably a result of how good the market was just a few years ago, because there's this huge influx of money and also more of an interest in people wanting to stay at home and work on projects or whatever it is. So there's anybody who's interested in reptiles, there's a lot of people that took a leap into it. And I think sales for the most part for a lot of species are still pretty good. I've been talking to some other vendors. The things that are selling really good right now, from what I hear from others, is like rarer species. Like, you know, so, but they're like, you know, so there is still people with a lot of like money and stuff. But, you know, the funny thing is, like, you know, I've heard it from like not only like, you know, ball python and hognose people, but others where they're selling like really like their high end rare stuff. People are still trying to buy it. Like, you know, in some cases, these $5,000 and $8,000 animals are easier to sell than these $1,500 and $100 animals because there's like, you know, more of those and there's more competition. So probably being mindful with what shows you're going to, trying to be, try posting like more online. You know, there's really nothing I don't think I can really add is like, you know, other than being optimistic and just staying with it, because it does happen with every market cycle in the reptile hobby. There is always ups and downs. Like we just experienced a huge up, and it was such a high up. It was kind of euphoric. There was like insane amount of money going around. My friend Tim, he's helping. So, you know, you had all this euphoric money coming in, and then people were making such easy money. And now it's getting a little tougher. And I was like, man, a lot of people, like, they're going to be addicted to it. Kind of like politicians, like, never endlessly printing money, because it's a very seductive thing to have. Like, you know, it is very, you know, high expectations of like what the current market was. But we are going to probably go into a cycle where it's not going to be as strong as it was exactly at its peak 2 years ago. So it's going to level off, and some people are going to get out of it, and then it will come back up. And the one thing that I think really helps drive markets is a new project. So new projects, and that means whether it's a new species or a new morph, new genes always usually add some excitement, because, you know, that's what the leopard gecko hobby kind of experienced a big, you know, downturn, because there was no new exciting projects. And so when there's not many exciting projects, I mean, not saying that there isn't one, like, but there's no reason for somebody to go out and give anybody $5,000-$7,000 for a leopard gecko project, because everybody kind of has a little bit of everything. So you kind of need new stuff.
Yeah, but it's also just natural to have more competition when something's so popular. And ball python specifically has been a lot more popular than almost anything else in the last few years. And so a lot of people have caught up to certain projects. And I'm asking one thing with you, Junior, like if you have something that you feel isn't selling to where you feel like that's the price it needs to be, what do you do in that case?
You know what? Since I've been doing this so long, and the one thing is I don't have that I usually don't have much of that panic. Sometimes I do. I've experienced it. And what helps you with the panic is actually experiencing it before. And this is what happens. You panic. I'm not selling this. I'm going to lower the price. I'm going to sell them. You sell the animals. And a lot of times in this case, it's not like a drastic amount. It's like 4 or 5. It wasn't really that hard to hang on to these things. And then like a year later, 8 months later, you have people asking if you have that, and you don't, and they want an older one, and they want something that's like near ready to breed, and they're willing to pay you double than what you just sold it for like 5, 6, 7 months ago. Now the ball python like landscape is very different. I feel like that's a tricky one. The thing I would like to see with the ball python market, I'm not directly involved with it, but I really wish they'd stop the mass exportation out of Africa of all of these farm raised ones and imports and stuff, because if they did, that would actually help the market there. And if they're actually still, I mean, the one thing that would be a bit of an issue is like looking for new morphs, but I don't think there's really been any new morphs that have come out of there in the last 5 years. Anything that's like real drastic, not anything I've seen. Not like, what about Dave? Do you know of anything that's come out from that's like you think might be game changing?
It's hard to say. I know there's a project overseas. I don't know if it came out of the wild, but I believe it's a tornado project. That's a recessive. I've been hearing a lot about that lately. You always have the Outback Tinkers every year, and a lot of those do prove out, or some of them do prove out. But like something that like came to market that turned into like a bidding war over the first one, it's been a while. Actually, I can't even think of anything in the last like almost 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like. And I'm not saying they should stop it completely. The thing is, though, the reason there are so many new genes found is because there is such a large number gone through. If you're going through like a small number, that's not going to happen. So whether they like shut it down completely or just allow a small amount through, Now, I'm not really completely against importation, but when a species is already established and there's so many, the whole entire reptile community, I think, would benefit from, African ball python imports to be like greatly reduced coming in, because there's a lot of animals available to sell, and selling them, especially when it's against like other people and stuff, it's going to be tough with as much competitions out there. Dave would actually be better for, I think, answering this question. Dave, goes to a lot of shows and he's actively involved in that stuff. So,
well, and we dabbled on that, but okay, so we talked about this a little bit, but okay, so two things. You made a comment, what if we couldn't get ball pythons in from Africa anymore? What's that going to do? And then also, we've discussed in the background that gourmet rodent isn't in business anymore. Yeah. Gourmet rodent was somebody that was supplying the industry with anywhere from, I think, 25 to 38,000 ball pythons a year on one of their better years. I might have exaggerated on that, but I know it's in the 30s. Let's just say you took Africa off table and we lost that. That's almost, how many ball pythons do you think we got out of the wild every year? Is it 40,000 or 60,000?
What? That's a lot.
Something like that. I don't know.
To God.
United States, I know years ago at one point there was like 60,000. I don't know if that was total going to all different countries, or if that was just, I don't think that was exclusively the United States. But I did hear stories of the people that would distribute them, they're importing them. They'd import around 20,000 a year. And I don't know. I don't think they were the only sole person, business doing that. So the figure of around 40,000, at least, like let's say 30,000 to be conservative, is accurate. So if those stopped, that would actually and those things are essentially coming in for like just dollars. And, it would definitely increase the price and the demand for these lower end morphs, and these lower end morphs that people are having a hard time selling, which are captive born and actually better quality animals. It would do better. The market would definitely benefit.
Yeah. So, and talking about the pet market too, and I know the pet market is hurting a little bit. I talked to a guy who supplies pet stores kind of in the Midwest region. And this was like 6 months ago, and he had mentioned that, he wasn't making deliveries nearly as much, and a lot of the pet stores are just buying feeders. I spoke with another guy over the weekend, and I believe he says he delivers to roughly 300 pet stores, or he has a list open to 300. And he said the same thing with a lot of those locations. He's getting a lot of people just buying feeders right now. The trend of, like I said, the people can't buy pets right now. So the market not having maybe 90,000 animals in it this year, let's say, I'm sorry, exaggeration again, 50,000 less snakes in the industry, let's say this upcoming year. What are the pros and cons of that, do you think, for ball pythons? Is it exposing less people to it, or force them to look for them harder? What do you think that's going to do to the market?
I think all pros. There's all pros. The biggest marketing tool, if we're going to look at it like that, but a lot of these are, hobbyists and pet, people that are interested in owning a cool or unique pet, and they're interested in reptiles. And, the exposure there, I think, is really social media. That's what's getting all the new people. If somebody isn't really actively looking for these things, anybody who's actively looking for a reptile, whether you're going to a pet store or a reptile show, they kind of already have some idea. They've already probably done some research, even if maybe it's, some of these people obviously aren't doing much research. It's just shitty research. They're not actually doing. They're just kind of like, this looks cool, and they're just looking at them. But social media is exposing so many people to the interest. I mean, that's what really blew up the Hognose community. Is there's been so many Hognose videos. I mentioned this the one time. Britney Spears actually shared a Hognose video, and it got 5 million likes. And so, and there's these other people, they're putting little knitted hats on Hognose and stuff, and that thing's got 500,000 views, and it just keeps tallying it up. So it's at the point where 20 years ago, if I was in a store and I mentioned Hognose snakes, somebody who doesn't know anything about animals would be like, what the fuck is that? If I go to FedEx and I tell them, what are you shipping? I say Hognose snake. I say about 40-50% of them like, oh yeah, I've seen those on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or reptiles in general. If you go to FedEx and they're like, what are you shipping? I'm shipping a snake. Oh my God, do you follow that guy? And it's they bust out their phone and it's fucking Jay. And I'm like, yeah, fucking.
Yeah,
no,
I get Jay a lot. Yeah, because at my bank, the one lady was like, oh, I've seen these videos of this guy with all these colorful snakes. And I was like, oh, it's probably ball pythons. And then she started explaining it to me more. And then she said the one snake was really big and it was in a box and trying to attack a guy. I was like, yeah, that's Jay Brewer. I was like, yeah, that's who that is. So yeah, the YouTube and all that stuff. So a lot of people are being exposed. Whether for me, it's like more because I'm so involved with Hognose. So I'm always talking about Hognose, but yeah, just like you said, animals in general. Whether it's like big retics, monitors, ball pythons. Ball pythons are a really great one because they're very cute. People do these same kind of videos they do with like hognose snakes. They're very cool. There's a lot of color morph combinations, and people see these pretty colors. So there's a lot of people too that are like, I don't like snakes. I'm still scared of them, but they're like, wow, they can be actually very pretty and pretty interesting.
And we can't be a whole without the whole pet side of things. Like we need that. That's very important because that's like the welcoming introduction to reptiles for the people who are on the outside looking in. You know what I mean? And mainly what the goal is getting people not to be so fucking freaked out over something not to be freaked out over. And I think we've come a long ways. Like if we go back to the 90s and shit, and I mean, there's still some people with the 90s mentality out there, but I think it's gotten a lot better because of, like you said, social media and whatnot. But I feel like shows are really a huge part of continuing the flow of new people coming in, because you got a lot of people who are bought in a certain level, social media, but don't pull the plug until they go to the show. When they go to the show, that's kind of when things really start to click.
That makes sense because a lot of there's first-time buyers that, of course, go through the internet and are nervous, but seeing stuff in person is a big, especially for an animal, because this is a pet, this is a living organism, this is something you're supposed to care about. So it makes sense that a lot of people, especially if they can interact and see them, at a show, is definitely going to be an emotional trigger and just a reassurance that they're like, hey, this is something I want to do.
Yeah. One thing in the industry too, and this isn't anything new, talking about social media, is, even the importance of snake bites back in the day, the amount of people that came into the industry watching those videos. Night and day at Arlington, snake discovery was at the last one. It was a bit tough, it was a bit crowded, but Ryan with VivTech, I think he sold out of every light bulb he had. The guy next to me had Hognose, had a great weekend. I don't know how many people have brought to the door, but the reality is, Morph Market, some of these big show promoters should be sponsoring all these YouTubers because they are getting so much traction, and I think that benefits the hobby.
Yeah, it does. I mean, when you go to like when I was at Tinley, Emily from Snake Discovery always has some theme. And at first I didn't know what the heck was going on when I first started seeing it, because I seen a bunch of people with mustaches. I'm like, what's that? And it actually is from her YouTube. So basically she has these, and it's really cool because it's very interactive. And so this last time it was you wore pink and then you're trying to find her or whatever. And there's a lot of people there with pink shirts, like a ton of people. So.
Now, I want to bring up what Dave wanted to talk about with you also, a comparison to, obviously the ups and downs that we go through in the reptile industry. There's something about the stock market that you were talking about, Dave, that you wanted to bring up.
Well, just paying attention to your economy. Everything's going on in the economy. A lot of times we'll reflect what's going on. Usually when the stock market's doing good, I feel like our industry is usually pretty good, but the stock market's a good reflection on the economy as a whole. Sometimes.
It's getting more and more disassociated because of lots of probably dumb stuff. But anyway, I think I know what you're meaning, Dave. That makes sense. But I mean, I think it's a good analogy to compare when things are going really, really well and everybody's buying. That's when a lot of people feel like they should be buying. But then when things are going down and you shouldn't be selling, that's when most people are selling. So it's kind of similar in the stock market, kind of like that too.
Yeah, different highs and lows. Well, how about this? So again, you're working with a species that X amount of people are working with. Hognose, like you said, may not have been the most popular, but they are really surging at the moment. What country have you felt that has really come in and been more interested in Hognose than ever before?
Oh yeah.
Well,
without giving it away. You don't have to answer.
Yeah, I mean the Asian market, and it's funny though. They're not Asia, the whole continent. Some of those countries are different. Korea, you're not allowed to ship there anymore. I used to ship Hognose there, but they had some dumb rear fanged law, and that's even the laws in the United States where it's no rear fanged, mildly venomous, they always make an exception for Hognose. They'll make no Barons racers, no Boyga, but heterodon, they're fine. And so that happens. So that's good. And really, I wish they'd be more lax on the other ones, of course. But Japan never really took off. Japan's economy is very weird, though. Right now, their dollar's crushed, and so that's a tough one because their conversion rate is really bad for when they're wanting to buy stuff from either Europe or the United States. But Hong Kong, China, and even Taiwan, those are very strong markets. They definitely they favor hognose over all other species of snakes as far as color morphs and desirable snakes go for over there. But overall the market's really influxed, I'd say, pretty evenly everywhere except for Asia. I'd say it's been extra, but they have a much larger population, so their population's insane. If you combine Hong Kong and China, it's over 1.6 billion people, and the most popular species of snake over there is Western hognose snake. So in a whole, hognose snakes could possibly rival ball pythons in popularity, but you don't see it because we're not looking at the Hong Kong and Chinese market the same, and our social medias aren't really exposed to one another. They kind of have to look for ours to find it, but they look for them. If you have like cool stuff, and there's like laws and regulations over there that keep it from ball pythons being number one, or else ball pythons would be number one over there. But
do you think so? Because one of the things that we've always talked about with the Asian market is that they go towards smaller species because of smaller living quarters.
They do. That is one aspect. A lot of laws. They have a lot of regulations against CITES animals. So that's a problem. Ball pythons are like, the most popular species of pet snake. Definitely as far as numbers and availability, and especially from the United States market and a lot of other markets, definitely ball pythons, like Indonesia, Thailand, these other places. Like, so there are other Asian countries where ball pythons are definitely dominating, but that's because they have more lax CITES laws and stuff. So really it's like, government bureaucracy, because here's the thing, ball pythons it's like crazy that they even consider them CITES. They should be the first python that aren't CITES, because they don't treat them like CITES. Is Fish and Wildlife signs off on 40,000 imports coming in every year plus, and they're like, that's not being treated like a CITES animal anymore. CITES, the whole point of it is to regulate and control and pay attention to specimens being transported to, help wild populations and stuff. Now they are documenting and they're paying attention to what's coming out of Africa, but they don't seem to give a shit, because that's a lot of fucking snakes.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where that 60,000 thing came up, because that was the number in my head also. And I feel like it was in an article in the past. Maybe it was something USARK related, but I'm still trying to remember where that 60,000 number came from.
It's probably some shit I said, because I know at one point, but I don't think that's not every year.
I feel like I read that somewhere though.
You probably did. Like, yeah. And I feel you could go around and ask some of these people that do the importation of them. And here's the thing: I don't think think like badly of those people. That's kind of like part of the market that started all this stuff. There used to be a need for that much, but I just don't think there's a need anymore. But they just still find ways to sell them, and it would be just great if that greatly reduced, because it would definitely benefit the market. Because that's the one problem. There's a lot of animals available, and for this to keep expanding, there needs to be more people getting in all the time, and so that's a tough one, because you're only going to gain the people that are interested in this stuff. And I think there are more and more people becoming interested, but this, just supply of these mass numbers just isn't, that favorable.
And I don't know much of like other markets, but I would say America's market and Canada for the most part. But from what I know, Korea's fucking popping. Like, I heard that's the spot as far as all the Asia. And then obviously I heard China's up and coming, from what I heard recently with their laws that just happened, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, there's now something with importation with China, if I'm wrong.
They're actually having some issues. They said in the next 5 years it could be possible. If ball pythons, they said they're trying to find a way to make it legal for ball pythons to be kept and owned there. If that does happen, that would actually open up massive opportunities for ball pythons. And actually, because like I said, Korea, I can't ship hognose there anymore. And ball pythons definitely are the number one popular species in Korea. And then, you've known about the crested gecko market over there. that's where some of those guys that were spending $30,000 on male crested geckos, they were going either Hong Kong, China, or Korea. A lot of them were in Korea. There's some very big players over there as far as, you know, having that interest in these rare high-end, you know, cresties to breed.
So, you know, the crested gecko market too, like, you know, watching that roller coaster over the last 30 years, you know, it was just so crazy to see the species that's been around forever. You've seen a fluctuation in prices between like 200 to maybe 800 for a real fucking high-end crested gecko. And then boom, you get mutations and you have guys that are putting $30,000 into them.
Yeah.
Blows my fucking mind. But, you know, I guess it was one of those industries that you just had to make something more investable, I guess, something that was actually a genetic anomaly, proven, not just line-bred traits.
Yeah, the one thing is like the market environment in the last few years where there was this big influx of money and then also this gigantic interest from not only people in the United States, but in other countries too. And then these new morphs that were available. Because like I was smiling real big because Dave and I, we have a friend, he got out of crested geckos, but he got out when the market was oversaturated and you couldn't give the things away. He got rid of them at literally probably the worst 6-month window you could have got rid of cresteds. And then within 2 years, the crested prices like, shh. Yep. And it was crazy because at first you could have got Xanthics for $7,500. And I even thought at first, and that's the thing, like I can kind of predict things to a degree. And I tell you, one of the better predictions is to be a little open-minded and don't like, because like if you would have asked me like 4 years ago, hey Jeff, you think crested geckos are going to go for $35,000 each? I'd tell you you're fucking stupid. I was like, but, you know, the other thing is too, when it does happen, it's really exciting, but it's also a good way to stay open-minded because like a lot of people want to guess what's happened and you're never going to ever accurately guess exactly what's going to happen. These trends change all the time. There's different people getting into the stuff. And the other thing is too, the one thing you can't guess is when somebody's going to produce a new morph. And these new morphs can add a lot of excitement. Like if you produce like the actually Pangea, they had that piebald one, which would have been a massive game changer. It ended up not being genetic. And they had like some things they're giving out and they're making fun of it. They're making light of it that it didn't turn out genetic. I forget what it had, but it had some slogan. And it was like coming with like food people were buying. Somebody showed his Andrew because he breeds some Rhacodactylus. And it was really funny. But, you know, even though that gecko didn't turn out to be genetic and it's a lot of money, he's actually still keeping it. And it's actually really, he has it, pictures of it. He's using it as like, you know, pretty much his little, you know, crested gecko mascot. So that's really cool. You know, because obviously that's one thing people do with these projects and getting into this, they're worried about losing money or and that's the thing with any business, whether it's more of a hobby venture or something that you're hoping pays for itself or even gives you some extra money. You know, there's always risk. And that's the thing with these animals. There's like a lot of risk when investing. You know, some of this stuff's not going to work out. Some of it's going to work out. You know, your huge investment. I've had huge investments not work out. And then my smaller investments that did work out end up eclipsing those big ones. Because if you stick with it long enough, you know, things will, you know, pan out. But not everybody's going to stick with it. And that's okay because some people get just a burnout. And if you are so burnt out, that's okay.
But that's the magic word, is sticking with it. That's like, and you really don't know the full experience unless you fucking go through the goods, the bads, the goods, everything that you have to go through. I think Dave said earlier, like the people who will like flourish through this shit, like who could kind of ride through this shitstorm in like 5-7 years are going to be doing the best. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, look at again, like cresteds, before this massive surge, just a few years before that was like, it wasn't good. It was tough. It was tough selling crested geckos. I know because I'd go to these shows and be like, I'd see all these different tables with all these crested geckos, and they all kind of have their same lineages and stuff. And you know, they have the kind of the same type of polygenics, and a lot of the cresteds were kind of looking the same. And there's some people that have 2 full tables. There's some people with 4 full tables, and then you know they just need to get rid of some. So then they start cutting the price, and they get to the point where they're actually scaring off people from investing in them because they're like, well, why did I invest in them if this price is going down like that? So when Xanthics first started, I remember they're like $7,000. I was like, man, there's $7,000 for Xanthics. I was like, that's like crazy. I was like, who the hell is going to pay that? I was like, that'll be a tough investment, man. And then, man, if you would have bought those first ones, you would have made out so well. You would have been like on top. And then not only, because then a few years later, people were selling Xanthic bells for like $15,000. It's like, holy cow. And you were selling so many hats and, you know, so yeah, obviously this is very interesting to observe.
Yeah, I think Xanthics, like just pre-COVID, might have been as low as 5. Maybe their bottom point was 7,500, but they were, like you said, at that price point, that wasn't impossible, but still for that community was extremely scary. And not a lot of people went after them for that reason.
Scared money don't make money.
Exactly. And if you're scared, go to church.
But, you know, too, with ball pythons, and I've been telling people a lot this, is you can't stop investing. Like, that market moves so fucking fast. Like, it seems like every year and every business is like that. You're going to have a devoted amount of money to put back in. You do the same thing, Junior. You know, you have a percentage you might decide to put in every year to stay relevant.
And that's another thing. It's hard for people to always have that capital where they could just reinvest, even when they're not selling shit. And right now, the big problem is for some of these people who are having problems selling shit is they're not continuing to invest. They're waiting until they have money to invest. And I understand that it's good to use that snake money to reinvest more into the snakes, but sometimes you got to be able to continue to move. And if not, you hit a fucking you hit a wall. You become complacent. And I don't know. It's just not easy. I mean, ball python game is not as easy it is to like get into it and breed. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful. Like there's a lot of fucking different ways and strategic moves around the ball python game, and it takes time for sure. 100%. Ain't gonna happen overnight. I'll tell you that much. These one-hit wonders, these people hitting these DG fucking clowns when they're technically not ready to hit that combo. Like there's people hitting combos where they don't even have a reputation to hit the combos and be able to sell it at the price they want to sell it at, especially at a market like today where they're competing with everyone else. Who the fuck are you? Who makes you special to where people want to give you their money where a lot of people aren't even spending money? You know what I mean? It's difficult right now.
They have a Desert Ghost clown. That's what makes them special. They have a DJ clown there, MJ. That's the special part. Don't focus on the person, focus on the animal.
It's not about the person. It's about the animal. But mind you, too, here we're talking about like there's different quality of DG clown stuff out there, Junior. And these people who hit, you know, some of these people who are hitting DG clowns, it does not look as good as some of these other DG clowns. And so that's why there's another issue behind certain projects. Like, you know, quality will always sell, right? You guys would.
Sure, yeah.
Right? But you got to have the quality. You know what I mean? Otherwise.
It's tough, though, man. I'll tell you what. Sometimes marketing quality, it does. Well, here's the thing. It's not perfect. But, like, when I try to sell people on my red albino hognose that I've been working on, like feverishly and very hard for like over 15 years. And not only their color, but also their body structure. Because with hognose snakes, if you aren't selectively inbreeding, like, and you're not like correctly, or you're not really paying attention, or you're doing too much inbreeding, sometimes you can get things like bug eyes and short faces. Like hognose can get kind of stupid looking pretty quick if you're not mindful with your selective breeding. With ball pythons, it seems like, you know, as long as there's no defects with the gene and you're breeding it, it's like they're all pretty cool looking. You know, you're not having any weird shaped heads and stuff. Their physiology is pretty intact. But with hognose snakes, man, I see some red albinos, and then I'm like, that one's not even that fucking red. If you've seen it in person, I was like, mine are really red, and they got good body structure, and they're very fertile because they're not overly inbred. But trying to explain that to somebody who owns 2 hognose and they're like fresh into it, they just don't get it. They're like, well, that guy's is cheaper. And I'm like, mine is cheap in comparison based on you're not getting this bug-eyed, you know, short-snouted snake. And while those are cute and you can sell them for pets, I wouldn't suggest to keep breeding those because it's going to start to get ugly. I've seen people do that, breed some of the bug-eyed ones, and then they have like ocular defects where their eyes, tear ducts don't, like, they're not working right or whatever, the mechanics behind producing the fluid in their eyes. And then some end up getting these eyes that just expand with fluid and they look horrible. And you have to go to the vet and you have to have them drained or you have to have their eyes removed. And that's horrendous. And yeah, it doesn't happen too often. That's like, I've seen it a couple like instances in like extreme cases where they're breeding like overly inbred red albinos and they're like, hey, and then they sold them to him cheap. And the guy's like, hey, these had defects and these were like $50 each and I couldn't resist. And he goes, this one's got like big eyes. I'm like, dude, that's fluid. Its eyes aren't big.
And this is a certain morph of hognose that is bred back to each other. Like, how do you avoid this? Like, I'm just curious. First time I've heard it.
Well, yeah, but in a lot, like say leopard geckos, bearded dragons, and like hognose snakes, if you're selectively line breeding for like, let's say red phase, these are just like, again, that it's in the name of the process. You're selectively breeding them. So as you're selectively breeding them, you're just breeding your best looking ones to improve the phenotype. And every generation is going to get better looking. But some people have too small of a gene pool and they keep wanting to breed the best looking ones together. And you start to get some bad side effects from that. The short face, the big eyes, sometimes short bodies. They're not as, fertile when you go to breed them. So hognose snakes don't seem to, it's funny. You can do like indirect inbreeding or what would be considered inbreeding. But see, what some people consider inbreeding, I wouldn't actually consider inbreeding when it's like relating to reptiles, because with reptiles in the wild, a lot of localities kind of interbreed among each other. Now they're not going to like brother to sister and those babies are produced brother to sister. There's sometimes like half brothers, half sisters, cousins, and there's all kinds of like partially unrelated ones. And they have a little more genetic diversity, when they're throwing out like multiple babies, so that if the small degree of inbreeding that's naturally occurring isn't negatively affecting them. But when we're doing it in captivity, sometimes if you have too small of a gene pool, you can start to see negative repercussions, especially when you're working with like a gene like albino. And for some reason, bug eyes comes along with that. I think it's from the initial ones that were overly inbred. Because again, a lot of people, when they were first buying hognose, there was like not many hognose breeders. Like if you bred hognose like in the late 90s, like anytime I talked to, I was a kid then, of course, a little kid, but everybody that I talked to that bred hognose, they'd have like one or two pairs. They'd mostly have like king snakes, bull snakes, mountain kings, and like, just different species of milks and kings and corn snakes. Those were the primary coolibrids. Hognose were very popular, and the one part is because there weren't a lot of them, and they were really unique, but shit, everybody who bred hognose, they had just like a handful of them. And if they bought albinos, they'd buy albinos or het albinos from Richard Evans, and they would just breed them together. And then they would sell them, and a lot of people would buy pairs from them and breed them together. And so I think we're still seeing the effects of that. So it's kind of hard to get albinos completely not to produce any large-eyed animals. I am getting pretty close now, but it's tough because every now and then, like I bought some hognose from one breeder to outcross like 2 years ago. And I got them in. I'm like, man, these colors didn't look like the photos. I was like, man, this one's eyes are way bigger than it looks like in the photos. Like this one's all fucked up. So I just raised them up and sold them. And I go like, I can't even breed these things. I'm not. And then somebody else, I bought some other hognose. I was like, this is going to be good for my lineages. And I was talking to the guy, and they weren't albinos. So I wasn't even expecting there to be bug eyes in them, because you never see bug eyes really outside of albinos that much. And he said, I'm not going to say what they are because I don't want to accidentally reveal who it's selling, because it's not like the worst thing, but we got to get away from producing bug-eyed hognose. That's like if we're talking about one thing with like the hognose community, where it's like, hey, something that we're breeding that we need to stop breeding the bug-eyed stuff. Start selling those as pet onlys. Start getting rid of it. I keep seeing for a while I was seeing a ton of it. I got the one fucking snake from a guy. It didn't even have albino in it. It was another gene. And I was like, this thing's bug-eyed. I'm not even going to breed it. What the hell, dude? I was like, how'd you get this to be bug-eyed? I didn't even know you could make these bug-eyed.
That's fucking epic. Hey, before I forget, I have to ask you, Junior. Now, future talk, obviously. I don't know if this is something you would want or not, but what if the ball python game, like, for instance, how many ball pythons are for sale on Morph Market? 40, I don't know, 40-ish thousands or something like that, right? What if hognose has got to that point? How would you feel about that? Would you like, what would be your feelings about something like that if hognose got to that?
Probably going to be an angrier person. I'm probably going to be I'm probably not going to be like, sometimes I walk around Tinley, I got a grin on my face. I'm probably not going to be grinning as much. There'll be a bunch of other tables there with hognose. Like, hey, Jeff, I'll be fuck you.
Yeah, don't talk to me.
It won't be that bad. Here's the thing. I've kind of thought about that a little bit. But I think it's going to be the same thing when the hognose market was really small. I'm just going to stick with it. They're my species. They're what I love. So that's it. So if the landscape gets to there, I'm at a point now where if that did happen, I'll be fine. But it'll be frustrating. It'll be very frustrating. So because again, the ball python market there with that many, again, it's very competitive. So again, like especially for new people, that's tough. And that's the hardest part for it. No matter what you're breeding, the hardest part is always when you're new. The longer you're in it, the easier it gets. But for some people, it takes a long time. It took me like, I'd say about 15, 17 years before I felt like it got very easy. It's not so much that it got so easy. You just kind of like know quite a bit of a little bit of everything. You know how, like, you figure out the, issues with the species you're working with, how to navigate around them, how the market and people behave a bit. And, and at that point too, you kind of have like a habitual pattern set. And once you have a habit set and made of it, that's very helpful too, because it's a big driver then.
So take this in not a different direction, but so here's the reality too, and I keep saying this, man. Ball pythons have dominated the industry for 20 years, and they just got where they are now. With Hognose, they wouldn't just get to 40,000; it would organically get to 40,000 a year. People would be trying to produce more because they would want to try to keep up with their market. In my opinion, I mean, if you're making more than people are buying from you, you're doing something wrong. If Hognose got to 40,000 available, I don't think it'd be by accident, and I'd like to think that it would be because the market wanted them that much. So
true. Yeah, because the reason there are so many ball pythons on there is because they are that popular. So if there was ever 40,000, you'd have a point. That'd mean that there was some point there would be some massive, interest, pushing Hognose to be produced at those numbers. But again, I really feel like, I don't want to keep saying this because I keep saying it, but if they stopped importing ball pythons from Africa, I really feel like those numbers would be much, much lower, and that demand would still be equal, but then the supply would be basically, be reduced greatly. But yeah, there would have to be a massive demand for Hognose, but there is. It's the one thing is, like, the ball python people, shit, they got to be like, some of these people, they post so many ads. You guys post a lot of ads. How do you get to post that many ads? It's like some person has like as many ads posted as almost half of what's available for Hognose. I'm like, how the fuck did you even do that? You know how many photos that is? Like, I was like, I don't care what way Morph Market works to make it easier. You still have to put in all that information. That's why. If you had to just sit there and do it straight and do nothing else, like you wake up, you eat your food and drink or whatever, and then you just take photos of your ball pythons, you ID them. Let's say you do this. Well, ball pythons, luckily, they don't move that much. Hognose move a lot fucking more. But when you take pictures of these ball pythons, you have to ID them, label them, and you have to go through. How long would it take to post like 600-800 ball pythons? I feel like it'd be like 4 days straight of work, like nonstop every day.
You break it up a little bit, man. Yeah.
I can hear him. I think Dave's the one with connection issues. I'm just kidding.
Oh, shit. You guys having trouble hearing me?
No, you're good. No, you're good.
I hear you.
Oh. You got something, bud?
No, go ahead.
Well, okay. So not to change it completely. So Morph Market, I think I saw they're going to run a sale from the 29th to the 4th. Has anybody looked into that yet?
Yeah, I saw a post with Darian on Facebook saying, are you going to join in on the sale?
Yeah, it was talking about possibly like a Prime sale, something like, Black Friday kind of thing. I don't know if I have to look into the details. I'm curious. I know he has the sale feature on there now where you can put it out for sale for like 48 hours at a lower price. We discussed that the other day. I'm just kind of curious how that's going to work. I'm not opposed to it. I think anything works. If people get a lot of sales out of it, I think a lot of people are going to be happy. I don't think you'll be selling much else on that site over that time because it's probably going to take all the traffic. But I'm kind of curious how that's going to be. Though. I was hoping somebody knew because I don't know shit about it yet.
I don't know anything about it, but I'll look into it.
All right. Well, you have until the 29th.
The 29th of October to like November 4th or 5th?
Yeah, I think it's on the 29th to November 4th.
Well, I like one thing Darian's already doing there. He's trying to beat the Black Friday stuff. So he's like, instead of like doing, because he goes, this is probably still that sweet spot where people aren't thinking about Black Friday quite yet.
Right.
And you can get kind of this Black Friday. Everybody does Black Friday earlier now because for a while, it was like Black Friday, like, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But now
it used to be midnight Thursday, like Thursday.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And now they started it, and then some company, I don't know why it took them so. They're like, wait a minute, what if we just do ours like Thursday and Wednesday before everybody else? And now everybody has to do all these sales and cyber sales and all this other stuff. Now we're doing Morph Market Friday. Oh, maybe you start is it the 29th Friday? Morph Market Day or Prime Day.
Yeah.
It's
I
interesting.
think it'd be the 20. Well, I think that's what Friday the 13th was the 13th. So wouldn't that be like that's like a Sunday? I think he's doing it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about you guys, but one of the saddest things I come across mainly on Instagram is like one of those 80s or 90s Instagram pages, and they just show something from like a clip of people waiting for the first PlayStation to be released in front of like an old school GameStop, and it's like, fuck, man, are we that old? And it's like we are, and it's like, what a time, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of wish we could go back to pre-social media. Even though it's like, you know, I'm only at where I'm at because of social media, but still, it's like, fuck, what a time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tickle me Elmo, buddy.
What? Say it again.
Do you remember Tickle Me Elmo, man? That was like the first thing as like a little kid that was like that, like crazy expensive toy for my generation. Now I wasn't playing with Tickle Me Elmos.
What about Beanie Babies? Remember Beanie Babies?
Beanie Babies are big. I told you, man, we got to get Brian Barczyk in a Beanie Baby conversation. I think he knows that market better than anybody else from what I can remember.
Yeah. All right.
Brian's got a Beanie Baby collection there?
I believe he used to buy and sell Beanie Babies back when like shit was real. Like, you know, relationships were ending over the price of Beanie Babies.
Okay.
I remember the trolls. Remember like the trolls with the hair.
Yeah, Furbies. I dig the Furbies. The trolls are awesome though, man. We need those for bingo.
Were you guys ever heavy into Pogs?
Oh yeah.
Well, I had some Pogs, but I didn't have any good ones. I didn't have a good one.
I got a fucking sick collection at one point. And then I got jumped by some SA and they were gone. Like my whole in one day, they were just my whole tube, bro, gone. And I was like, wow. And I never fucking went back to that thing ever again.
I think that's a beautiful story that somebody wanted your Pogs that bad. I'd actually prefer it that way, compared to still having them laying around. That's actually how I am for bicycles. Somebody stole my bike when I was 18. Never bought another bike. I was like, fuck it, just not for me.
Yeah, luckily the worst thing that ever got jacked for me was Pogs. Anything else, I think, I was upset that day, but then again, I was happy I was walking away. So I was like, fuck it, it is what it is. I also did a lot of other cooler things. I think Pogs was like the most least thing that I wasn't worried about. Like, okay, but still, like, it wasn't cool. Like, it took me like 3 years to get that collection. And like, I had really good slammers. I guess I remember the slammers, like the ones and they were like metal, like big thick ones. Anyways, I'm not still hurt about it. I'm just saying.
No, I had all the wrestling ones, and I get a little cardboard box and I put them all on top, and I keep on dropping the slammer to see who win WrestleMania every time.
Hey, Junior. One thing I wanted to ask you is, like, if it was to be one morph of the Hognose to take it to that popularity stage, what do you think that morph would be? Like, what do you see the future morph for the Hognoses being?
So the next big main gene mutation in Hognose that's going to be the most popular in the next few years.
What you could predict, right? Like there's Pied and Bananas in the ball python game. What would be your prediction for the next big one for the Hognose?
Exists like probably Swiss chocolate stuff. I mean, it's already in the market, but still relatively new. Swiss chocolate is I did a live yesterday. My lives can be a bit obnoxious though because they run so long.
I love it.
My topics can it'll be like one topic and it'll be me speaking about it for 40 minutes. But luckily we get there's a lot of Hognose people in there, so we kind of we interact. So it's like a kind of like open chat, just Hognose people. But anyway, Swiss chocolate, because Swiss chocolate is a recessive gene mutation that's like kind of looked at. It's very similar to Sable, and Sable is also recessive, but they're not allelic. If you breed a Sable to a Swiss, you just get double heteros. And Swiss are kind of similar looking at first glance. They're both hypermelanistic animals that make the animal overly dark. Swiss chocolate, though, are abundantly more dark, and they have a solid black head mask. So they have a little bit of a pattern difference there. And then again, the Swiss chocolate, they have more melanin, but they also have other higher degrees of color saturation is the safe thing to assume when you see an animal with more pigment saturation like that. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the underlying pigment underneath all that dark pigment, it might be kind of muted. But anyway, you can see some of the Swiss actually do have some coloration to them, especially in the background. The Swiss are actually more highly variable than Sables. And these variable phenotypes can look drastically different than Sables. And I was comparing because everybody looks at Sable and Swiss at like face value. So I kind of was talking to people on how my perspective of how I looked at them because they're both hypermelanistic, really black animals.
Right.
Other than the Swiss chocolate dark head mask, it's like, well, what am I looking at from my perspective? And that's the thing. Everybody looks at different things. The way I looked at it is when you look at Sables and the other colors they show, other than these dark qualities, you get a lot of greens in them. While Swiss chocolates, I'm seeing more golds and yellows. So you have a gold yellow color palette versus a more green color palette. So that means their iridophores and other pigment cells are doing something very differently there. So certain combinations are going to look quite a bit different with Swiss chocolate. So that opens up opportunity to make pretty cool combinations. And a lot of people like the Swiss chocolate stuff. It's got a cool name. It's had something like mystique to it. That's what I've been told actually by others. That's actually not even my words. I think that was my friend Joe Kovac that said it because there's like a mystique to that name Swiss chocolate. But they're over from Switzerland. They're kind of like hard to import because, you can't just like getting a direct shipment from Switzerland's kind of not tough, but it's very expensive. Or you have to have them delivered from like, one of these Germany like exports. Yeah. And so, but I think that's going to be more popular over the next few years.
That's fucking sick.
I don't know what I thought you were going to say, but I guess my argument was you guys already had something dark. Now you have something that's similarly dark. I like Sables. I like these Sable Xanthics. I love that blue. I don't think you can make blue with any other combination. Have they made the Xanthic Swiss chocolate yet to see what that was going to do? Change it up?
They have. It's actually drastically different looking than the Storm Cloud, which is the Sable Xanthic. So That's actually a good example there to show the differences between them. Because the funny thing is, with the Xanthic Swiss, again, like they're pretty variable. He showed the two like drastic differences of the phenotypes with the Swiss Xanthic, because some Swiss chocolates come out with like not much dark pigment, and I call these ones pixels. They're like pixelated. They have like little shattered pattern. They're like real light and reduced. And the funny thing is, the Swiss chocolates are mostly hypermelanistic. Some of these things are so fucking dark they're almost black looking. But then you have these other Swiss chocolates. All they have is a dark head mask. And then their bodies are like this weird, like light, dusty, goldish color, greenish, and they might have like a little bit of darkness on their saddle. There's actually this one customer. He's a cool guy. He bought one of my Swiss chocolate males I released last year. I didn't sell many, but I was like, I'll sell you one of these light ones. I was like, they're variable. I was like, these came from dark animals, and he bought it. And he just recently asked me, he sent me a picture. Are you sure this is a Swiss chocolate? I'm like, I'm positive. I was like, I can see what you mean. He's like, it doesn't look like my other ones are like straight. The background's like rich chocolatey brown and black. And he goes, this thing is like this. I'm like, yeah. I was like, but look at the scale tones. I was like, those tones are not wild type at all. The saddles are very different. I was like, it's got like, when you look at a really light Sable, it's kind of like that. You can see this like cast in it. And then it has the dark head mask. I'm like, that thing is definitely a Swiss chocolate, dude. I was like, there's no normal Hognose that looks like that. He goes, yeah. He goes, it'd be helpful or better, I think, if they were all dark. I'm like, yeah. It's like, probably. But I was like, actually, I kind of disagree with that, because since you have these two drastic phenotypes, you get these unusual looks, because the dark Swiss chocolate Xanthic is like very black. This is like one of the blackest Hognose you've seen. And it's like charcoal, dark gray near black with black on top of it. From a distance, it looks like a solid black snake. And then the more light colored Swiss, the pixelated one with the Xanthic, is like this earthy, gray, stonewash, almost cookies and cream, like speckled granite looking individual with like a dark head mask. So I was like, those are both very nice looking. Now with the Storm Clouds, and that's the thing, going back to the green palette, because when you're looking at a green palette, when you remove the yellow pigment, what are you left with? You're left with blue. So the Storm Clouds have this nice blue cast. And actually, Dave, I got to send you some pictures. The one Hognose morph combination that is overlooked until I post one every now and then to sell them. And I got to sell more. I don't have a lot, but I do hoard them because they're so cool, are Super Arctic Sables. Now, Super Arctic Sables are really variable. I get all these different variations, but so the bluest Hognose I have are Super Arctic Sables. I have one of my big females. Her name's Blucifer. She's an adult. She's 3 years old. This bitch is still blue. If you look at adult Storm Clouds, they kind of turn more gray. You can like imagine blue. You can look at it, and it's kind of like a LaCroix. It's like, there's a hint of blue there. Doesn't really taste like blue, but I get it. There's some blue there. But with the Super Arctic Sable, my blue ones, they're very blue. Like, it's still LaCroix blue, where it's like a hint, it's a flavor, but it's stronger than the Storm Cloud.
What do you have for Junior, man? We're gonna wrap it up with him and then get going here. So
why don't you start us out? I'll get one last thing for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious right now, compared to what other maybe people in the reptile industry are facing as far as sales and whatnot. Well, we were talking about ball pythons, but how are hognoses as a market right now? I mean, much of the same as far as people that are newer panicking and not knowing what to do, and maybe you had to mentor some of them and calm them down, or do you feel like a lot of the projects happening in the hognose market is still growing and you're not really dealing with what ball python people are dealing with right now?
I'd say I'm dealing with some similar things, but not as drastic. It's funny. I can see some similarities. The hognose that are having a difficult time selling right now are things like, say, if you have just a regular Arctic male, like Arctic conda male, or even an Arctic het sable male. See, a lot of people had enough money to invest in higher end stuff than that a few years ago. So you look at say something like an Arctic double het sunburst, or an Arctic het toffee, or even just a regular Arctic toffee. Most of these people that were investing in some projects, they're already past that. So some of these morph project animals that are being produced that are lower end ones that all of those breeders already have, of course, those ones they're not selling well. So these ones need to eventually be moved more as pets, probably in the long run, or a great majority of them eventually are going to end up that way, because only so many people only need so many males and hets for het females. And I think it's the same thing with ball pythons. If you have just a bunch of regular bananas or regular super pastels, those are tough to sell. Meanwhile, the higher end stuff's still going. So hognose are still going very strong, but some of these lower end extra males, they're more needing to be priced probably for pet targeted animals, or pet
right.
Target people that are looking for a pet.
Right on.
Two-part thing. So we were talking about focusing on market trends overseas. Sometimes trying to predict when a market's going to pick up. You remember when we had all those late night infomercials that said buy the euro with American dollars because the euro was going to go up?
Yeah.
You remember that market back then when the euro was thriving? Was that when the European market was really buying into reptiles, or did they already commit to that market?
No, that was around 2005, 6, and 7. That was some of my best leopard gecko years. I could put up raptors for $500-600, and that was that many years ago. So $500 was a lot more.
Yeah.
And they would sell. Yeah. And then since their dollar was stronger, all of the stuff we had appeared much cheaper. So yeah, the market over there, and that's when there's the Eclipse leopard gecko came out, and the Eclipse tremper albino, known as the raptor, that was very popular. So yeah, I mean, that was a big boom for the leopard gecko hobby. And I know ball pythons too. I remember hearing stories of the Bells going over there doing very well. Ron Tremper having amazing leopard gecko shows, sales over there, unheard of stuff, crazy. And yeah, the market was extremely good at that point, especially.
Okay. So possibly a tip then, and we've talked about this a little bit. If you're taking this serious, let's say you're paying attention to the world market and what they're doing, the proper hashtags on your posts on Instagram. If a market or a country is thriving, the dollar is surging, they already have reptiles over there, certain hashtags you can put on your stuff is going to draw attention by those countries. So, we've talked about certain countries. We're not going to say them now, but we were discussing what hashtags you would use. Really quick, though, on that, what hashtag have you noticed you used over the years that has actually directed positive traffic to your post?
Oh, geez. Probably just ones that are more focusing around hognose, or man, the thing is, I haven't I was actually just thinking about that recently, because I was I got to change it up. And actually what you said, Dave, is actually makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting. My dad would actually do that for his art, and he would hashtag those random countries. And he said he'd start getting a bunch of likes from those countries. And he was doing it more originally as a goof. Huh. And I actually haven't done that. That's actually a good idea, Dave. I didn't think about that. But I have been trying to pay attention to other people's hashtags, because social media, they've been making it harder for you to get exposure like you used to be able to get.
Oh, and it's going to continue to get harder. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's so tough now compared. If it gets harder, it's you're right. And then I agree, MJ. Yes, they're going to make it harder and stuff, because they want that monetization money. They want you to spend.
But people need to understand that hashtags do work especially if you're like trying to build something, right? Got to use hashtags, but there's a certain time and place where hashtags won't do shit for you. Like, I mean, Instagram world is one thing, but YouTube, for instance, and I only paid attention because I had Donnie on Nerd on, and he kind of groomed me a little bit and told me like the importance, and you know, somebody like that who geeks out over fucking analytics and the growth, he just comes to say, like, dude, hashtags are just kind of just wasting your fucking time after a while, you know.
Gotcha.
But it depends on what you're doing. Like, I don't know, like I've like on something like Instagram where like you tag like just a country, and because I've done something similar to that, and I was like, holy shit, where'd this come from, you know, and all off one hashtag. But now I notice that like Instagram will spam your hashtags. Like if you use a hashtag a lot or all the time or something like that, I know on certain things they'll just kind of like kick you out of the algorithm or some shit. Like you got to be mindful of certain things. It's fucking crazy. And if you're not paying attention, you'll just be kind of just shooting in the dark every single time.
Sounds like me. I copy and paste my same hashtags every single time. Sounds like something I need to change.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I pay attention to people whose channels grow pretty quick, or not even channels, Instagrams who blow up pretty quick, and then they have like a bit of moments where holy shit, like but then it just goes back to where like if they never got all that, and now their likes are like, you know, they go from like 500 likes to like 40 likes again, and that's kind of what Instagram does to you. Like they give you a little and then take you back, and it's like, but then you have to make sure you're doing something to give Instagram a reason to put you in the algorithm. Hence all the fucking influencers are doing stupid shit. Like it's kind of stupid. It's fucked up. But then also it's like a drug to these people who get a little bit of money and they're like, oh wow, like I need more, you know? So
yeah, sure.
Terrible. Was that your 2-part? Did you already do your 2-part, Dave?
Yeah, man, I feel like that was 2.
All right. Listen, over 100 people tapped in, Junior. You came in and you quite the assist on this. I appreciate you so much. What do you have to say to anyone out there who enjoyed your presence and overall just a huge fan of your work? What do you have to say?
Oh yeah, thanks for hanging out and giving well, really MJ and Dave a platform and just hanging out and tuning in and listening to reptiles. And if you like hognose snakes, check out my Instagram, maybe, if you do want to.
Yeah, JMG Reptiles. Listen, are you going to be possibly popping your head in some super shows next year, or what's the schedule like with you and shows? Phoenix,
November, I think it's 18th and 19th at Expo. I'm doing Pomona again, so I'll see you, MJ, in Pomona. I'm going to try to get into NARBC, Texas, I think. I'll talk to Dave about that. Probably hang out with him there. Maybe springtime's kind of a tough time because I'm going to try to breathe, but I also want to do shows. So those are the big ones, Pomona and Phoenix for now.
All right.
Cool.
And Tinley, I'm always at Tinley Park. I've been going there since I was 16. Walk in through the door, turn to your right. I'm right there.
You can't miss a guy. Always there. Well, yeah, listen, it's always a pleasure having you on the show, and I'm sure we'll see you again at some point. But
thanks for having me on, both you guys. Thank you.
Please give it up. Give it up for our friend Jeff, JMG Reptiles, ladies and gentlemen. All right, bro. Have a good night. Appreciate you, buddy.
Later, bud.
I am good.
Great addition to tonight. But I'm not gonna lie, man. We flew things off pretty good tonight. I thought this was overall a really good show.
Yeah.
We kept 100 people in there for a while, so I mean, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'll be honest. If they saw us talking the 5 minutes before we started the show, I never would have imagined it had been so good.
Yeah. And like I said, I knew my mood would kind of change once the live started, you know, and like I said, I love talking industry with you because I grew into this with you. Like, I mean, I'm knowing you helped me grow into this position where I'm at in the industry. So it's good to kind of catch up with you. And mind you, we're always kind of focused on the guests who we have on, but to me, you're always somebody who I would love to have on as a show as a guest, but co-host also, my man, it's always a pleasure, Dave. So show wise, attendance, your next show is not till next year then, right? You're off shows for a while.
Man, I'm going to do the one-day St. Louis on Sunday this weekend. Then I'm probably, that Phoenix show in November sounds nice. I might have to give Junior a call about that, the 17th and 18th. If there's a little herping left, I might run down there and do that.
Maybe a super show next year too, or what?
I think I'm going to fly in for a super show. We've been selling our nicer stuff, and the other stuff I feel sells about anywhere. I don't know if I can justify coming out quite yet. It's got to be a big show to go all that way. I might come visit, though. Maybe I'll just fly out and hang out for a couple days. I don't know. Talk about it.
I was gonna rub it in, but holy shit, this is like my third year of me trying to beg you to come over to Trap Fest and hang out with me and my peeps, and who are your peeps too. My peeps are your peeps, so it's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, man, you know? But day by day, it'll happen. Hey Dave, what do you have to say to all the loyalty out there? I know it's tough to kind of identify loyalty nowadays. It's tough. It really is, because we're talking about situations that are putting people in a position to not only slash prices or whatever, but it kind of like you see some friendships that are deteriorating because of this, where we're at right now. Like overall, not everyone, like I said, some people got loyalty and they're standing tall and it's great, but you got other people that are almost not keeping great relationships because of what's happening in the market right now. And it's unfortunate.
Well, it's unfortunate. That's the best way of putting it, man. I'm going to say this, man, and it's real fucking cheesy, and I say it a lot. Just got to stay positive. Too much good things about this industry to get caught up in the bad stuff sometimes. I know sometimes the bad stuff's going to weigh on me a little heavy, but, man, once you've been doing this for a little while, you just kind of go with the rhythm. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. But,
cool.
No, man, I still think there's good things in the hobby coming up. I think there's good things for you, good things for I. And again, the show atmosphere has been good. I keep telling everybody, thank you for coming over and saying hello at the shows. It's never a bother. I love the conversations. Keep them coming. And, if you're at the show on Sunday, come see me at the Show Me show in St. Louis on Sunday. And if I'm going to make it down to Phoenix, which would be a new environment for me, I'll be there on the 17th and 18th of Junior. I'm going to see if I can get into that show this week.
My man. Well, thank you again, Dave. It's always a pleasure. And everyone out there, please give it up for my good boy, Dave Levinson, ladies and gentlemen.
Always fun, guys. Appreciate you.
Dave, you're my boy, Blue. Thank you so much. See you at the top. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging tight. I appreciate it. Really good episode. As I, man, quite the day today. But listen, we all have those days. Tomorrow's a new day. Tonight feels great. Got quite the work ahead of me, but it's okay. Deep breaths. Understand. One thing I was going to say is, one thing we should all be thankful for is what keeps us in something we love. Like if we love the reptile industry, well, what keeps you in the reptile industry? And if something keeps you in the reptile industry relevant, you should love that. Love that forever. Take care of it, right? For me, in my eyes, the animals, everything surrounding me. Everything surrounding me, this is my, make sure that it is priority. My obviously family comes first, and then make sure these are all great. And then, of course, make sure the podcast is popping. All right. But you want to know what makes this podcast popping? You guys. Oh, my God. Over 100 people tonight. And just me and Dave chopping it up. That means a lot to me. That really do. So thank you so much. It's not too late to hit the like button. If you have not hit the likes up or hit the like button yet, get the likes up. If you really enjoyed this podcast, if you enjoyed Junior tapping in, if you enjoyed what Dave Levinson had to bring to the table tonight, get the likes up. Okay. Hit the subscribe button. All right. If you want to be on top of more Trap Talk podcasts, if you want to be a part of these lives, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, select all, and you'll always be notified about the lives that I have. I have 3 lives during the week. Okay. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I do not miss. It's been that way for many years. Well, not, going on 4 years, but either way, it's my life. No big deal. Either way, appreciate it, guys. Coolest reptile podcast in the world. And that's a fact. You guys know that. Oh, you know that. Oh, you know that. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the sponsors. You guys are beautiful. Live chats. You guys are beautiful. All my peoples, all my trappers, you're beautiful. If you're looking for exclusive content, join the Trap Talk Patreon family. Come meet my people. Coolest Patreon family in the world. All right. Trap Talk Zoom parties every Sunday with the V Unit family. Come network. Come meet people. Want to know why you ain't selling shit? Because you don't know nobody. Get yourself out there. I'll see you guys here next week, and I'm out.